You can take your lying down PMCO 556 spray and stick it right where the sun don't shine. Give me an SKS. Uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom! Let's talk DMRs, or Designated Marksman Rifle. That's what DMR stands for, in case you didn't know. It's the subset of weapons in PUBG Mobile that is right between ARs and bolt-action rifles. It gives you the ability to use an 8-scope, which is a very, very underrated part of the DMR arsenal, and also gives the ability to do high damage body and headshots, which really is what differentiates them from ARs. We're going to talk about the very real problems that DMRs have in the current meta. We're going to talk about how you can use them successfully and why you should use them, and how, well, let's put it this way, PUBG Mobile doesn't know what to do with DMRs. I'll address this very, very quickly. We have seen various weapons get buffed. Sniper rifles get buffed time and time again. We've seen multiple buffs to bolt-action rifles. We've seen multiple buffs to the SMGs and changes to the SMGs. We've seen very little done to ARs. Like, they're doing great. And we've seen very little done to DMRs. And I think bolt actions and SMGs are indicative of two weapons that aren't used at all, whereas I think DMRs are used, they're just not used very well by the majority of the player base. Most people can't get anything out of DMRs, and there's a reason for that. We won't be talking about the VSS. This is not what I consider a DMR. It is in a class all of its own, and I will be doing a video on this weapon very, very shortly. Anyway, back to where we were before. One of the problems people have with DMRs is that they can't get enough time on target. And that's a real issue. One of the reasons I love bolt-action sniper rifles, like the M24 and the Kar98K and the AWM, is because they give you the opportunity to one-shot anyone with a level 2 helmet. Or a level 1 helmet, for that matter. And in the case of the AWM, any headshot is a kill or a knock. And that means that situations like this, for instance, this is the SLR. This is the highest damage world drop DMR, the 57.9 base damage into a standard vest. And it does 79 damage in a level 2 helmet, or 59 into a level 3 helmet. I'm going to headshot this guy a whole bunch, but what he is doing is he is just peeking and then pulling back as soon as he gets his headshot, and then like a good player, he gets a full heal up to the level where if he gets hit in the head again, he doesn't die, and then he just repeats the process. So I end up shooting this guy in the head 3 or 4 times. I'm actually showing him there where I am because I rotated and I want him to come back. And you can see he just pulls back. Just pulls back in. Pulls back in, hits another heal. And then comes back out and gets headshot again. And then pulls back in and hits another heal. And eventually just chucks smoke and runs out the back, and I can't quite hit him enough to clear him. I mean, this is the nature of the beast. Good players know what to do versus the weapon you've got in your hand. And a lot of new players particularly don't know how to turn that into good gameplay. Whereas, it is very, very simple. Well, I'll get to that in just a second. And this is one of the reasons why I have an issue with the Mini 14 these days. I really don't love running the Mini. You can run it and it can be very, very good because it is actually super accurate and has very, very little recoil. I mean, you can see here, I'm going to hit 2 lovely headshots on a moving target, even if it's not moving very, very quickly. And that clears the bloke in the buggy. But most people will just do this. They'll just run an AR. They'll just run an AR and they'll turn it into a long-range single tapper if they need to, or they'll just spray like this. And it's a lot easier for a new player to figure out how to spray with gyro, even with a DP28 with a full 6x. You can do this. And it's a lot easier, especially for a new player, to learn how just to spray a weapon than it is for them to learn how to hit a quick tap headshot before they get wrecked. And that means that DMRs are probably one of the more poorly used pieces of equipment. Lots of people won't even pick up bolt-action sniper rifles. There are huge sections of the player base that wouldn't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to using a Kar98K. But they will still pick up one of these weapons until they find an M416 for their long-range gameplay. And if you've got an 8-scope, well, you really do want to have a DMR in your hands. The DMR is worth its weight in gold. It's great. Another underrated part of the DMRs is, yeah, sure, you can use an AR and you can use that for both close range combat and for tapping out or spraying it with a 3X or a 6X, but you can also use, say, an SKS or an SLR. If anyone's been playing TDM in the last year, you'd know that the boards are often completely chock full of people running SLRs as bloody main weapons. If you've ever watched Athena, where he fires an SLR like he's firing a full auto 7.62 AR, it's just like, then you'd know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm not Athena, and for all intents and purposes, I'm guessing you're not either. There's a lot of people out there who seem to think that just because they've seen Paraboy dominate tier 1 scrims with an M16A4, then they could probably do it as well. This is how you want to use these SLRs. You want to use them, and DMRs. You want to use them as big heavy hitters. This is why I prefer the 7.62 DMRs. You want to use them like little sniper rifles where you fire once and then quickly tap again and get 2 headshots in a row. 2 headshots in a row will clear any helmet in the game with an SLR, right? Or a Mark 14. That's how the business goes. The harder you fire it, the faster you fire it, the less likely you are to be successful. What you really want to do is use it like this. This is a great example. This is a late circle. That guy's got a DP28 down there. One shot, one shot. Watch when I lean for 2 peaks. 2 shots here. I go for 2 shots. Get hit. So let's just do 1 shot. That. Duck. 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 That's really nuanced gameplay that most new players don't have any clue. So you end up with this situation where PUBG Mobile hasn't touched DMRs for a long time. But I swear to God, they've got to get something done to them soon. The only problem is they can't buff DMRs. Sure, they might not be used nearly as much as ARs, and their role is nearly completely subverted by ARs. But, I mean, if you buff DMRs, good players will absolutely wreak havoc. It's like if they buffed AWMs because bad players don't know how to use them and gave them like the ability to one-shot if they hit you on the little toe. Good players would go nuts. They would be like having an absolute ball because hitting a body shot's not the hard part with the sniper rifle. Hitting the headshot's the hard part. So where do DMRs sit? Well, they're in a really tough place. You can have a whole lot of action with the DMR. And by the way, before I forget, the QBU on Sanok, please don't sleep on the QBU. QBU has more base damage than an SKS, nearly as much as an SLR at 54.8. Use the QBU on Sanok. It's amazing. You end up in situations like this where you're so scope dependent. You would have been better off in this situation using an M416 on full auto. You can throw 40 rounds down range very, very quickly, and you will spray so much that a player who doesn't know what they're doing will still be super successful. They can throw all that down range, and 10 rounds will just go somewhere close by, and some of them will be a headshot, a couple in the leg, and the next thing you know, you've got a kill. Instead of having to learn that you've got to adjust your camera sensitivity all the way down, and you've got to be sensible in the way you tap, you can just throw a whole lot of lead at the target and everyone's a winner. DMRs are a much more nuanced and finesse part of the gameplay that most people don't get. And that's unfortunate because they do certainly bring a lot to the table when used correctly. But using them correctly is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Why don't I run more? The only reason I don't run more DMRs is because I love sniper rifles so much. I just love playing bolt action sniper rifles so much that it is hard for me to run DMRs. I will usually carry a DMR until I find a bolt action sniper rifle because it's just a kind of gameplay style I love. And in CQC, watch, this is a SLR. You can absolutely step on it, right? You can step on an SLR in the right situation. Same deal with an SKS. And they are filthy. They're so much better than the other weapons that you're going to run across because their base damage is just higher. And once you get claw down, you can use them in all variety of situations. And we haven't said it already because I think it doesn't need to be said, but the Mark 14 is a joke. If you're not using the Mark 14 as both a DMR and as a full auto close quarters combat monster, then you're doing it wrong. Like, every time I see someone, I run into people running M416s and Mark 14s, and they attack me and they've got the M416 in their hand, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you even thinking, buddy? Just pull the Mark 14 out and win instead of running your M416 in CQC. I mean, this is a perfect example of what a Mark 14 will do. Oh, someone's pushing the crate? No problem. Thanks very much. That was interesting. I hope you enjoyed this video. DMRs are a different breed of weapon. They are probably one of the more difficult weapons to get the most out of in PUBG Mobile. And they will remain so until they do something with ARs. They could solve all this and really buff DMRs and SMGs and everything else just by turning bullet drop on to the point where at 100 meters, the bullet drop on ARs goes off the charts and just goes down like a banana. And suddenly the whole spray meter would disappear. And you get people using and living longer and using different weapons. And the game would be so much more fun. But that's a whole other video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Until next time, stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.